Hi, so this is Sean from Time and Talk. So I traded my 11214270 for a 114270. And this video is a review of the 114270. Basically, I'm gonna make a video about why I don't really like modern Rolexes or current generation Rolexes, but I made this one first. So here's some footage of my old watch. And some people probably think it looks exactly the same. Why did you bother changing it? And to illustrate, here is the new watch. And it's a 36mm 114270 from 2008, I think, off the top of my head. It's got all box papers and all that sort of stuff. And I traded my 21470 for this. Um, I think I was keeping the 39mm for the wrong reasons. I was hoping that eventually maybe it was going to go up in value, and it was going to be like one of those situations with Rolexes where they go up in value and they're worth well more than you paid for them, and you can buy a house with proceeds. And that was never going to happen really. And even if it does, I am probably never going to be able to afford another Rolex to actually wear. So I wanted one that I enjoyed wearing, and I didn't enjoy wearing this. Ever since I bought it, I've kind of had a bit of a doubt about the watch, and it's not because of the whole, short hands and unloomed 369 and all that jazz. It's just because it didn't wear particularly well on my wrist, and I was always kind of, with the 36mm wear better. I've owned a Datejust, and that did wear better on my wrist, and I don't regret at all trading it. Um, Objectively, the newer watch is a better watch. It's got a better movement in it. It's more solid, but I prefer the 36mm. And to be honest, it's as close to a modern Rolex as you can get without being 39. Or the new 36, because it's got an engraved rehort and things like that. So it's very very late on in the 114270 range. So here is the 39 on my wrist. It's fine, but I didn't like the way it wore. So here's normal stuff, the box and all that jazz, and yeah. So just thought I'd show you that. So everything came with it, and the guarantee card and all that sort of stuff. And I I finally pulled the trigger about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and as I said, I don't regret it. It wears so much better, and I much prefer the watch. At first glance, it's not much different. As I said, it's a 114270 from I think 2008, and it's got an engraved rehort, so it's really really at the end of the run of this particular watch. It's got solid end links and all of those things that you would have expected. I think what's interesting, or maybe not all that interesting, is that modern Rolexes, one of the reasons that I don't like them is because they look, in my opinion, they look really awful on straps because the cases are really blocky and squared off, if you like, whereas the case of this Explorer is a bit more curvaceous, and the bezel kind of slopes more rather than being flat, or it seems to, and the overall case dimensions are obviously more akin to the Datejust, and you can see, it looks kind of better on straps. I could never wear the 39mm on a strap. I just felt it didn't look right. This one I probably will keep on the bracelet the majority of the time, but it does look good, I think, on other straps. The only thing is about the 114270 is that the spring bars are really close to the case, so it does destroy leather straps apparently. There are solutions to that, curved spring bars and things, but it's not perfect, even this watch. Um, so yeah, I mean, just to round up in terms of some of the things that are different. So this is the 369 are not loomed, just like the 39mm, but the current generation 36 and the older 39 after my one, the Mark II, was loomed. This particular one has the loom is traditionally coloured. It's green rather than blue, which is on the current generation of Rolex and mine as well. And another thing is that people are kind of a little bit snobby, understandably maybe, about the bracelet and the clasp. So in previous generations, you went from hollow end links, which this does not have, to solid end links, which this does have. And you also had hollow center links. If anyone can confirm or otherwise, I think this has hollow center links. But to be honest with you, you cannot tell. You cannot tell that the bracelet as such is any different to the one on the 39mm or the current generations. It doesn't feel that much lighter. It doesn't feel that much more flimsy. But then obviously you've got to take account of the clasp and things like that. Another thing about this watch, comparing it to the newer 36mm, is that this particular watch, everything is kind of blown up on the newer watch. So you've got, in 2006 with the GMT Master and then following on with the others, you had the super case where everything became like on acid. Everything was bigger and bolder and more square and more straight edged, if you like. And this is prior to that. On my Explorer, you had the Explorer text at the bottom of the dial, and this one it's the top. I think they've gone back to the top with the newer 36mm. And I think that this watch, unlike I guess the one that I previously owned, the 39, is just so perfect. It's kind of boring. The proportions are brilliant. And here's when you get to the clasp. Some people don't like the stamped clasp. I understand why, because to a certain extent it does feel quote unquote cheap. But to be honest with you, I prefer the clasp. I kind of like the romance of the older Rolexes, but I also think that it wears more comfortably, and it also blends in a little bit nicely with the bracelet, because the newer clasps are kind of blocky and cumbersome. You might be thinking the Easy Link, you don't have that on the newer bracelet clasps. The Easy Link 5mm adjustment was for me next to useless. If I tightened it up, that was how I wore it, and then if I loosened it, it was too loose. So it wasn't a useful thing for me. If it would have been more adjustable, amazing, but it wasn't. And I just think the Explorer in 36mm, it should be 36mm. I know, I've owned the 39mm and I chose that, and originally I did think the 36 was too small, and I think that was because I tried on a kind of ropey condition 14270 and it just didn't do it for me on the wrist. It felt like kind of old and it felt like it hadn't been looked after very well and things like that. But this feels, it's the perfect balance between kind of older Rolexes and a modern Rolex. Like I said, it's got an engraved Rehort. It's very late on in the run. You don't have to baby it. I've just been to Spain and I've spent a week wearing it in the pool, on the beach and things like that. And it's just a perfect watch. You can wear it as a dress watch. You can wear it as a sports watch. It's water resistant. It's cool looking. It's got that kind of Rolex romance, but also it's under the radar, so nobody's going to notice it and think that guy's wearing a really expensive watch. I'm going to steal it from him. So I don't regret trading it at all, and hopefully I won't get itchy feet again, and I'll keep this watch for the rest of my life, and I'll hand it down to my son when the time comes. Tell me what you think about the differences between the modern and the slightly older Rolexes. And modern, this is a modern Rolex, so the words are kind of misnomers, I guess, but I personally don't like the direction that Rolex have gone in terms of making the cases more blocky. This has taught me, along with my interest in Swatch and my interest in the Cartier tank and things like that, the smaller watches just fit me better, just fit my style more, but also my wrist size more. I mean, you can see on the wrist here, I did a kind of head-on shot, so you can see what it looks like on the wrist. The difference is relatively subtle, but it's really, really noticeable. And one of the biggest things is that people go on about proportions. It is that, but it's also not. Because the bezel is just so much more sophisticated on the older models, because it's more curvaceous, if you like. There's the dreaded clasp. Yeah, tell me what you think of the 114270 as against the newer 36mm. This is probably not a great financial decision, but I made it. So thanks very much. Goodbye.